Hey everyone, welcome back to the NY Patriot Show. Thank you for all tuning in again. And if this is your first time, hit that like and subscribe button. You're definitely going to enjoy this, and I'm sure you will enjoy other stuff that I have on my channels and my podcast. And if you are watching this and you don't know, or if it's the first time you came across me, I actually do have podcasts as well. And there is stuff on there that will not be dropped on YouTube if you're seeing this on YouTube. So definitely check out the links in the bottom. I have plenty of other things that may not show up on YouTube, and that's on podcasts or other sites. So just to get that out of the way. And this is the first episode of many. I will be showing many different ways to look at the number 17. To me, I think it's a very occulted number, a very deep number. There's a lot of things behind it, and I want to try to show that in this series. Religion, spirituality, dates, occult symbolism, gematria, the Kabbalah, I think, and just other places we see the number or the word 17. You see it in a lot of places, and I do think at times it can be meaning something rather deep than just a number. And I want to try to convey that within all these episodes I'm going to do. Most of these episodes will be on kind of on a topic type of, I'm going to try to stay to like the same thing of what I'm trying to get at with, with the number 17. It could be showing religion, spirituality, the news, gematria, Kabbalah, all that stuff and so on. And I'll probably sprinkle in a few other random things that I have found down the road that maybe didn't fit into a specific topic. I just might throw some of those in as well. But going forward, I will say that, this is the first episode. The first few will probably just be showing, the number 17 showing up in a lot of places. And then going forward, the series will get more deep as we start getting into, Kabbalah, tarot, gematria, symbolism, all that stuff. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm hoping that as I show you the number and the stuff that it's associated with, once we start getting into the deeper stuff, you may see the picture of what it's actually really trying to tell you. And before we get this show going, I do just want to add, this is all my commentary on this stuff. This is just my opinion, my take. I am not trying to make any accusations about people, companies, organizations. This is just my commentary and theorizing on maybe some deep numbers that are involved with the number 17. It may not always pertain to what I'm showing, but I do think, in my opinion, there is something behind the number. So I just wanted to make that known before we go any further. So, after all that is said and done, let's get into it. So, if you see in this one right here that I have, it says there were 17, people and nations at the Pentecost. The Pentecost is the Christian festival celebrating the descent of the Holy Spirit on the disciples of Jesus after his ascension, held on the seventh day after Easter. Also, a Jewish festival of, I'm not sure how to say this, Shavuot. So that is just another thing where, again, you will see the number 17. And it is quoting there Acts 2, 7 to 11. And here we have Acts 2, verses 7 through 11. Utterly amazed, they asked, aren't all these who are speaking Galileans? Then how is it that each of us hears them in our native language? Parthians, Medes, blah, blah, blah. So there you go. You can look at that. That's where it's getting it from. All the different types of places, names, this and that. Adds up to 17. All right, and this one right here, as you can see, it says, if you're watching it, Joseph was 17 years old when his brothers sold him into slavery. Genesis 37:2. He then lived in Egypt for 13 years between his time serving Potiphar and his time in prison. and at the age of 30 was released from prison and sent over the land of Egypt. Again, I mean, I think the 17 in there, as well as the other numbers, I do think could quite be possible that it's telling us something else. But there's another 17 for you. And then here is Genesis 37, verse 2. There are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah, and with the sons of Zilpah, if I'm even saying this correct, his father's wives. And Joseph brought on to his father their evil report. So again, this is even showing you Genesis 37, verse 2. It is saying that 17 years old. And I figured I'd add this in the corner. That's Peter Gabriel. Some weird outfit, bat wings on his face. He was, originally in the band Genesis. So figured toss him in there. Why not? Now this, depending on what, I guess, school of thought, there's different opinions. Again, depending on religion, cults, school of thought. But some do think there is 17 judges of Israel. There's 17 judges of Israel. Some that have happened, and some that they are claiming are going to come. Here's the 17 judges of Israel. Right here, here's the first 8. And then here is the other ones. Here's the rest of them. I'm not going to read them all out, but you can look at the screen, and you can see for yourself. This, I actually came across by accident and thought of, because of the other LDS stuff I have covered, why not toss this in as well? I just found this interesting. And again, like I said, I found it by accident. This comes from, I'll read it off. My name is Robert C. Van Sweden, and I want to welcome you to the website Scriptures 101. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I have had the opportunity of serving a mission to the Netherlands and of teaching both early morning seminary to teenagers and the gospel doctrine class to adults. I greatly enjoy teaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to others. My desire has always been to inform them of the principles and beliefs of the church in a manner that is understandable. This website and the subsequent lessons are only an extension of that desire. And lesson 17 is on the judges that I just mentioned. I don't know, conspiracy or just a coincidence. But I found that and figured, why not toss that in? Very weird, in my opinion, especially once you start tossing the LDS church into it. And now we're going to get into Noah. Some interesting stuff with Noah in 17. Genesis 7, verse 11. It's funny, it's 7-Eleven. Constantly go to that store. Or used to when I lived down on Long Island. Verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And then you have here, Genesis 8, verse 4, and the ark rested in the 17th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. So there we go. Got some 17s going with Noah. Now, before I get into the next stuff, I really just kind of needed to explain this a little bit before I go any further. There's different names of months that are used in religions and stuff, especially when you're talking about a long time ago. And two of them could be right here. It says, I'm going to pronounce it Nisan, because that is, it says Nisan, Nisan, or Nissan. Nisan and Aviv are both, words that are used for months. Nisan, Hebrew, in the Babylonian and Hebrew calendars, is the month of the barley ripening and first month of spring. for Aviv, Hebrew, means the barley ripening, and by extension, spring season in Hebrew. It is also used as a given name, surname, and place name, as in Tel Aviv. The first month of the year is called the month of Aviv. That there are different names of months in the past. So when I start covering them, you can get an idea of where I'm coming from with this, which is right here. The Feast of First Fruits. The Feast of First Fruits, Leviticus 23, verses 9 through 11, was held on Nisan 17, the Sunday following unleavened bread. On this day, they celebrated the spring harvest by waving a bundle of the first ripened grain before God. Jesus rose from the dead on the Feast of First Fruits. Now, supposedly, I can't say that these are exactly true, but, these dates right here, do come up as being possible. Nisan 17, Noah's Ark, like I had said before, safely rested on Mount Ararat, which you can see on Genesis 8, verse 4. Note the 17th month was later designated as the first month at the time of Exodus, Exodus 12, verse 2. Nisan 17, Hebrews entered Egypt 430 years before deliverance, even the self-same day it came to pass. Nisan 17, Moses led the Israelites through the parting of the Red Sea. Nisan 17, Israel entered and ate the first fruit of the Promised Land. Nisan 17, the cleansing of the temple by Hezekiah, whatever that name is, 800 years after entering the Promised Land. And Nisan 17, Queen Esther saved the Jews from elimination. So, again, that is why I brought up the Nisan, so you understood what I was getting at with that. Here's another thing from the Bible. This, I do think, if you want to start adding everything to it, it can get, it won't stay with 17, but there is some stuff where I do think it is showing 17. Daniel's 7 beasts have 7 heads and 10 horns for a total of 17. Some people say they represent world-ruling powers from Daniel's time to the second coming of Jesus. And the devil's end-time system, in Revelation 13, we have 7 heads and 10 horns, which total to 17. And here we have Revelation 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. So if you count the horns and the heads, you do get 17. And then if you add the crowns in there, you get 27, which in a way is kind of a weird number, I think, because you have a lot of famous people, especially musicians, kicking off at that age. Psalm 83, verses 6 to 11, lists 17 enemies of Israel. 7 of these God destroyed in the past. The other 10 foes will soon try to destroy the Israelites and cut them off from being a nation. The 7 enemies of Israel God destroyed in the past are I'm going to screw these up, Midianites, Sisera, Jabin, Oreb, Zeb, Zabah, and Zalmunna. The future prophesies to be against God's chosen are Edom, Ishmaelites, Moab, Hagarnes, Gabal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistines, Tyre, Assyria. This makes for a total of 17 foes vanquished by God. And here you can see I have that up. If you want to look at it, it shows you all the names and where I got that all from, or where this all came from, this idea. Again, that can even be arguable. Here we have Kings 14, verses 21 to 31. The reigns of Rehoboam, or however you say that, was the son of Rehoboam, I'm screwing it up, son of Solomon. Now, just the fact of Solomon, that's a very deeply occulted thing, and getting into that could be multiple episodes just on Solomon. But son of Solomon, was king in Judah. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem. It's funny, before I'm even editing this show, I'm looking at my mixer right now, and it was 1717 at this point of recording this. Wow. His mother's name, well, all right. The city the Lord had chosen out of all the tribes of Israel in which to put his name. And to see how much of a great place this was, I will read here. Judah did evil in the eyes of the Lord. By the sins they committed, they stirred up his jealous anger more than those who were before them had done. They also set up for themselves high places, sacred stones and Asherah poles on every high hill and under every spreading tree. There were even male shrine prostitutes in the land. The people engaged in all detestable practices of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. So, I mean, that's just some weird stuff even going along with that whole thing. And we have here Kings 13, verse 1. In the 23rd year of Joash, the son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel in Samaria and reigned 17 years. So again, we have somebody else being in charge for 17 years. Here, Genesis 47, verse 28. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the whole age of Jacob was 147 years. Even then, I even think with those numbers, you might be getting into something else, but again, 17. And here we have Revelation 17, verse 17. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. So we get some beast stuff going on again with the number 17, like I mentioned with Daniel. And here we have Ezra 2, verse 39. The children of Haram, 1,017. Again, it's just the word 17. You know, that could be nothing really. But they do mention that again, just to show you here in Nehemiah 7, verse 42. The children of Harim, 1,017. They do mention it twice in the Bible. Maybe it's important. Maybe that 17 means something. Just again, just showing you 17 stuff. And this right here is showing you the 17 blessings from the Talmud. The 17th blessing marks the beginning of the third and closing section of the Shemona Ezra, where we offer, I'm sure I'm messing that up, where we offer up words of thanksgiving and departure as we take leave. So there is even the 17th blessing, fires of Israel. Something I came across. I wanted to add that in. And here is a 3-week mourning period that starts on the 17th day of Tammuz. The fast of the 17th of the Hebrew month of Tammuz, known as Shiva Azar B'Tammuz, is the start of a 3-week mourning period for the destruction of Jerusalem and 2 holy temples. The fast actually commemorates 5 tragic events that occurred on this date. So I'm assuming, unless this is completely wrong, some of this could be theorized though, all these things technically happened on the 17th. Moses broke the tablets when he saw the Jewish people worshiping the golden calf. During the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem, the Jews were forced to cease offering the daily sacrifices due to the lack of sheep. Postumus burned the Holy Torah. An idol was placed in the Holy Temple. And the walls of Jerusalem were breached by the Romans in 69 CE after a lengthy siege. 3 weeks later, after the Jews put up a valiant struggle, the Romans destroyed the Second Holy Temple on the 9th. So, yeah, there's some stuff right there. You can read it if you want. Supposedly goes along with the 17th of the Hebrew month of Tammuz. Now, we have the Parthenon. This is something interesting to toss in there. The Parthenon is a perpetual octa-style Doric temple with Ionic architectural features. It stands on a platform, or stylobate, of 3 steps in common with Greek temples. There are 8 columns at either end, octa-style, and 17 columns on the side. I even think 8, like I've mentioned before, 8 and 4 kind of go with the prince and the king, and I think 17 will start to fit in there eventually, adding other things to it, but I even question, is the 8 and the 17 all symbolizing something or built for a specific reason? Possibly. The 17-article Constitution. The 17-article Constitution is according to the Nihon Shoki of 720. That was weird, 720. Because now thinking about it, I remember it could be nothing, but it was the 720 on the Twin Peaks episode that I did on the telephone pole. A document authored by Prince Shotoku in 604. It was adopted in the reign of Empress Syuku. The emphasis of the document is not so much on the basic laws by which the state was to be governed, such as any one may expect from a modern constitution, but rather is a highly Buddhist and Confucian document that focused on the morals and virtues that were to be expected of government officials and the emperor's subjects to ensure a smooth running of the state, where the emperor was to be regarded as the highest authority. It is one of the earliest constitutions in history. The degree to which the document matches the definition of a constitution is debated. While it introduces principles of governance, much like the preamble of modern constitutions, such as the United States constitutions, it lacks other elements commonly expected. As William Theodore D. Barry writes, Prince Shotoku's constitution placed more emphasis on the basic moral and spiritual values than on the detailed codification of laws and reinforcements. I think that's interesting and, important to mention. The Constitution remained valid until Writs Suryo, however you say that, went into effect in the late 17th century. It is frequently argued that those aspects not contradicted by subsequent legislation were still considered valid in 1890 and remain so today. So yeah, the 17-article Constitution. And here we have Ezekiel 25:17. And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes. And they shall know that I am the Lord when they shall lay my vengeance upon them. Now I feel like I've heard that somewhere else, haven't you?
And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
There we go. Pulp Fiction. And here I'm bringing this. I'm going to have to bring this up a little bit before we get into the other stuff, just like the months. Zoroaster and the Zarathustra. They're regarded as a spiritual founder of Zoroastrianism. And here it says, Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, is regarded as the spiritual founder of Zoroastrianism. He is said to have been an Iranian prophet who founded a religious movement that challenged the existing traditions of ancient Iranian religion and inaugurated a movement that eventually became a staple religion in ancient Iran. He was a native speaker of Old Avestan and lived in the eastern part of the Iranian plateau, but his exact birthplace is uncertain. So yeah, just in case people have never heard of this religion or this person, just wanted to cover that before I start mentioning other stuff. The Gathas are 17 Avestan hymns traditionally believed to have been composed by the prophet Zarathustra. They form the core of the liturgy, the yasna. They are arranged in 5 different modes or meters. The Gathas are in verse, metrical in the nature of the ancient Iranian religious poetry. The Gathas are in verse, and there is 17 hymns of the Gathas, consisting of 238 stanzas of about 1,300 lines or 6,000 words. And they were later incorporated into the 72-chapter Yasna. Just adding all those other numbers in with the 17, the 238, 1,300, 6,000, 72 chapter. 72 comes up oftenly in occultism. Go check out the Goetia, 72 demons. I also wanted to toss in, why not? We've covered him, brought him up plenty of times when covering secret societies. They seem to love William Shakespeare. This could be arguable too. Some people may not consider certain books, certain things, whatever. But William Shakespeare's early plays were primarily comedies and histories and are regarded as some of the best works produced in these genres. William Shakespeare is believed to have written 17 comedies, which include The Merchant of Venice and Much Ado About Nothing. William Shakespeare also wrote mainly tragedies until 1608. So there we had some William Shakespeare in 17 coming up. He has come up a lot, especially with Masons. His stuff is mentioned a lot in degrees or certain inner orders. They tend to like Shakespeare a lot. So I tossed that in there. And then here we're getting into... it's a haiku, Japanese haiku. Or they could also be called an onji. And I'm going to go over onji. On are the phonetic units in Japanese poetry. Ji is Japanese for symbol or character. And then haiku. What about the syllables? The syllable count in the English language haiku came about as a misunderstanding of the mechanics of Japanese haiku. In Japanese, there is such a guideline, but it is not with regard to symbols as we understand them. Rather, the Japanese haiku is written in 17 onji, which are units of sound, but not necessarily compatible with English syllables. So again, 17 in sound. I just wanted to throw that in there. Here we have James 4, verse 17. I just tossed this one in there. I thought it was nice. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good, and to doeth not, to him is a sin. I think it's actually very well said. Once you know the difference and keep doing it, then you really have no excuses. Oh, we don't want to forget about our boy St. Patrick. 461 AD on March 17th, St. Patrick dies. So that's another one. St. Patrick died on March 17th. On March 17th, the Romans celebrated Liberalia with sacrifices, processions, ribald and ghost songs, and masks which were hung on trees. After the abolition of the Bacchanalia, from the following year, these celebrations were established. Wild parties, but much the less the previous ones, in honor of the god Libero, and his consort Libera. Deities linked to wine, to the joy of living and crowned with ivy, such as Bacchus, the Roman version of the Greek god Dionysus. It was not uncommon for a deity to be split into masculine and feminine, especially in archaic cults. I think that is a huge thing that is still done in art, sculpture, and I'll bring it back to William Shakespeare, which I think involves the cross-dressing in his stuff. It is just showing the splits or adding of masculine and feminine energy to an extent. So yeah, on March 17th, they do celebrate that. Then the celebration of Liber Pater. The celebration on March 17th was meant to honor Liber Pater, translating to the free father, an ancient god of fertility and wine, like Bacchus, the Roman version of the Greek god Dionysus. Although there is evidence to suggest that Liber Pater was an Italian deity that had predated the Roman Republic and was eventually more akin to Bacchus with years of Greek ideas and rites. Liber Pater, Liber Pater, if I'm even saying that correctly, is also a vegetation god responsible for protecting seed. Liber, again like Dionysus, had female priests, although Liber's priests were older women. Women were described by Ovid to have been stirred in crowns with a wand called a thyrsus by Liber. The reason for it being old women was explained by Ovid, as older women would drink more wine. The same priestesses would wear ivy, as ivy was believed to be the thing Liber cherished the most. The priestess made special cakes of oil and honey. The procession of Argai, celebrated on March 16th and 17th, was related to Liberiala. Oh, how are you saying that? The Argai were 27 sacred shrines created by Numina. So there was another thing with March 17th and Liber, that type of word. Liber was one of the original Roman gods, a favorite of the plebeians. He was the god of fertility and wine. His festival, Liberalia, celebrated on the 17th March, was an occasion to mark the return of life. It was also a favorite time for Roman boys to come of age. And what I really liked about covering that part, with that whole Liber and Liberalia, all those different Libero, Aleister Crowley, tons of books. Liber this, Liber that, Liber letter, Liber number, the Book of the Law, Liber Alvel Legis, and then you have Liber 777 and other Kabbalistic writings of Aleister Crowley. So even this man was using Liber a lot. So I just wanted to add that in. I find that very interesting how Liber can go back to the number 17 in a sense. So, just adding that in. And here was another thing that I thought was kind of interesting. The trihartery is a traditional Greek vessel. It was first built in the mid-17th century, by the Greeks on the island of Hydra. It's played a major part in development of commerce and fishing, since basically this boat in that shape basically kind of set the standard for a lot. I mean, we still see this style used now. So like these style of boats, kind of like these fishing boats, supposedly, came from the 17th century, and it's Greek. And then we have here, I think this is just a little bit interesting to bring up, and then we'll be wrapping it up. We have Mahmud Ghazna's invasions of India. Name of the battle, Mahmud Ghazna's invasions of India. Venue, various parts of India. Year, 1000 to 1027. So that's pretty interesting. 27 years again. In 998 AD, the Turkish conqueror Mahmud of Ghazni succeeded his father and established a huge empire in Central Asia, with the capital at Ghazni, the present-day South Kabul. He was 27 years old then, and the first ruler to get his title as Sultan, which means authority, thereby implying his power and strength. For 17 times, he attacked India during the period between 1000 and 1027 AD, a significant event in the history of India. So, there we go. That was just, that may have been all over the place. I know I kind of stuck with the Bible more and religious things, but that is the first installment of many to come. We're dealing with the number 17. Like I said in the beginning, some of it, like I will try to stay with like how I kind of stay with religion or at least the Bible. I did touch on other things. Might be more episodes where I go into different religions or different spiritual beliefs with the number 17. But, you know, for right now, I'm just trying to show some basic stuff like that. So it may seem a little spread out all over the place. I'm going to try my best to try to make it, you know, all seems to make sense and try to stay on the same thing. But that was the first episode of many to come. And going forward, like I said, I will be trying to stick with more of like a topic, you know. Eventually, I might start doing ones on news dates, you know, dates of 17, stuff we see happening in the news on it, you know, an example like that. But yeah, that is the end of the first installment of many to come. I hope by the time we get to the end of this, if that ever happens, maybe we will have a deeper understanding of this number and maybe start seeing a connection with the things that I am showing. And again, I just want to reiterate, these things that I'm commentating on are really just my opinion on things that I have come across and through my experiences in life. Through my experiences in magic and just studying occultism and seeing the world play, you know, go on and play how it plays around me. These are just my opinions on what the number 17 could be. But hey, you never know. Maybe I'm onto something too. So I hope everybody got something out of that. I hope maybe you learned something new. What I really hope is that this makes you go and maybe even look into some of the things that I just mentioned. I suggest doing that since I probably butchered most of the names anyway, just so you can get a really good idea of what I was talking about. But look and investigate more yourself. Don't always take from me, you know, what you're hearing. You know, go investigate yourself as well. That is part of the reasons why on my show in the Occult Rejects, we show the screen. You can see where we got the stuff from, and you can go on your own little investigation. So hopefully maybe some of you will do that as well after this series. It will spark some sort of interest, and maybe you'll start looking yourself and learn on your own. So yeah, that is the end of another NY Patriot episode. I mentioned earlier, hit that like and subscribe button. If this is your first time coming across my show and it was because you were looking for this stuff and you're still listening now, smash that like and subscribe button and even share it. Share it. Pass it along. And I also do think that you will truly like the other topics I have covered and the amazing guests that I've had on this channel. All the links to all my stuff is in the bottom, and I want to reiterate again, if you're watching this on YouTube, I do have a podcast, and I do have a BitChute and a Rumble. The Rumble I might ditch eventually, but I do have a BitChute that has much more other visual stuff and episodes to watch than on YouTube, unfortunately, because of censorship. So yeah, check out the links. Got plenty of stuff. And for the people that have listened to me before, thank you very much for checking out my stuff again. I hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody got something out of this. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.